All right, guys, here we are again with another edition of the Blueprint. But this one today is going to be a little bit of a special or different edition. Mike and I, we were going through our videos and, been doing this for a little while now. And of course, when I started, it wasn't quite as good as I am today. Not saying I'm great, but I think I've done a pretty good job of interviewing my more recent guests. But early on, we didn't have as much of an audience. We didn't have as many subscribers. And I think people would really enjoy a repeat of this one. And so I want to welcome back and just re-air the interview I did with David Brownlee. And so David Brownlee is an award-winning author and a business coach, and LinkedIn hires him for their events. He does a lot of events, flies all over the world. He's been a friend of mine for decades, and just a really inspirational person. He also has an amazing fitness journey where he got down to 3.8% body fat and just brings a lot of value. So we talk about a lot of different things. There was a life-changing moment that he had on travel that he did to Nicaragua. And anyway, we talk about some really cool stuff. And I think, in re-listening to this, there were some more things that even I got out of it. So I want to re-air that for you today and just play it again. So if you're new to the show, if you caught one recently because a friend of yours or somebody you know was on and now you've subscribed, I do appreciate that. And if you could share, that goes a long way for us as well. But let's take another look at my interview with David Brownlee.
I lift up out of the air, into the air, spin my body around, and I land on the snow. I just knew it was bad. It was like a movie, man. There was like probably 10 people in scrubs ready to go into emergency surgery. My wife was talking to the doctor, and she asked the doctor, do I need to fly out? What do I need to do? And he says, don't fly out yet. We don't know if he's going to make it through. We'll know in the next 30 minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
And at that point in my life, I was kind of in a crossroads anyway. And I decided it downloaded to me that I wanted to dedicate my life to helping people one person at a time.
Yeah.
That became my life's purpose, and got to really discover how to get somebody from where they are in pain to where they want to be, which is out of pain. That became my passion.
In life, there's a blueprint for everything. There's no need to start over. Hear from industry leaders, those at the top of their fitness journey, and real estate gurus. They tell you exactly how they did it. All you have to do is listen, learn, and execute. This is The Blueprint with Brad Rice.
All right, guys, we're back. This is Brad Rice, and you're on The Blueprint. And today I have an extremely special guest with me. This is somebody who's been a friend for decades, and I'm being serious, probably more than 2 decades. It's probably closer to 3.
Yeah,
maybe 4. I don't know. Somewhere around
there. Well, I'm
there.
not as old as you, so it's different.
Well, looks could be deceiving. But this person not only is such a great person, just brings energy into any room he comes in, but he's also a 2 times #1 best-selling author with 2 great books that we'll talk about today on peak performance and in business coaching and that sort of thing. He has really kind of immersed from an interesting past, and we'll talk a little bit about this. It's on his YouTube channel. He talks about a time when he was traveling and he got stabbed, and that was a turning point in his life. So with that, he went on to become a coach and really give people the ability to achieve goals and dreams on their own.
That's right.
And he's done a great job of that. He's worked for Tony Robbins, and he has conducted over 7,500 one-on-one coaching sessions. That is extraordinary. That is a lot. You are old. And besides that, he also has trained millions of people on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And he has coached companies like Google, LinkedIn, McDonald's, Oakley, which you're heading to later today or tomorrow, and Harley Davidson and many others. So big companies. He is the founder and CEO of the Brownlee Consulting Group, And he, if that wasn't enough, the guy is a rock star himself. Welcome, David Brownlee.
All right, dude,
I
got to bring you with me everywhere,
How was
man.
that? All right.
Oh, so good. So good, man.
Check.
So good. So good to see you.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time that we've known each other.
Yep.
But we've texted, we've talked, we've done stuff, but we haven't been face to face in the same room together.
Dude, it's been forever.
It's been too long, man. So when you're like, hey, you want to come out to the studio? Where's your studio? Simi Valley. Like when I was a kid, I used to come here, and literally there were sheep and windmills.
Yep.
And I'm like, not a lot of guys I would go do that for, but you're one of those guys.
Okay, well,
man.
gee
You're a
whiz.
special dude, man.
Driving a couple hours from San Diego, don't put yourself out.
I know, man. But dude, I'm telling you, when you're doing that drive and you're like, and it's just red.
Yeah,
it's just
I know.
red. You're like, it's the destination, man.
Yeah,
and I'm glad you were on the other side, man. It's good to see you.
Hey, it gives you a chance to
see
catch up on podcasts. I hope you were able to listen to a couple on your way up. but-
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I do a lot of training, you know, and like you said, tomorrow I'm teaching a course for Oakley, right? And it's presentation training.
Yeah.
So how do you give a presentation? What are those elements that are different than what a normal professional presentation is, right?
Yeah.
And so they've adopted the method, and so I get to go do that. So a lot of times when I'm driving, I'm thinking about content. What are we going to do? You know, I'm always thinking about the client, you know, and how can you go further? And I want to point this out because we talked about this before. I was offered coffee here, and not just any coffee. And I don't know if they just had one around that said David on it, but it says David. This is my mug right here. It says the blueprint on the other side. I have a hat over there. That is customer experience. Both my books were on customer experience, man. And if I was here to do a loan or to invest with you or something, you have my attention.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so funny. Like, you know, I don't know how much the mug costs, but the value that brings to the relationship is amazing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was awesome.
Well, I'm a student of yours, and by the way, you are busy, and I do appreciate you taking the time because it was tough for us to find the time. And I'm not saying that facetiously. I know you travel a lot.
Yes.
You work with LinkedIn, and you are all over the place. I mean, I looked at it. Looks like you've lightened up for the rest of the year, but the entire year you were just pinging back and forth across the country. So I do appreciate you taking the drive up here, although the drive isn't that bad. But I did think of something earlier today.
Yeah.
Because I want to get into all that. I want to get into the presentation
Yeah.
stuff. I want to get into your fitness. I want to get into your story.
Sure.
I think there's so much value you're going to bring today that people are really going to get a lot out of it. But I also think that at the end of this, you're going to have some people that already be fans of yours and want to learn about what you have to offer, because in business, you offer a ton of value for people that own businesses or in sales and things of that nature. But before we get to all that, I did look for this and I was not able to find it. I want to know if you remember.
Okay.
So you knew my brother before me, and you would come to family events, and you would bring your guitar and you'd sing.
I already know where this is going.
But you had a T-shirt you made back then, a DB T-shirt.
Oh, that's right.
And it was navy blue.
That's right.
And I had
That's
one.
right.
And I remember having it, and I remember keeping it at my lake house as kind of like that shirt that you're done wearing, but you put somewhere and then it kind of gets mothballs on it.
Yeah.
And I looked for it everywhere. I couldn't find it. So, but I do
There
remember
was my
it's-
logo. There was DB, and it said David Brownlee. It said "Get Your Groove On."
That's what it said.
It said "Get Your Groove On,"
Yep.
DavidBrownlee.com. And for your audience that doesn't know, I had a band, and we were touring around, and so we had these T-shirts and swag, and you'd get it with a CD. Some of your younger audience don't know what a CD is. It's kind of like like a little disc that you'd put in and listen to music. So that's so funny, man.
Isn't that funny? I remembered that.
Those were the days,
That's right.
man. You
I
know, we
used
were
to
touring
sport that
around
shirt.
playing music, and I was singing, rapping, playing guitar.
Yeah, well, maybe you could sing something for us today.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Well, you know what I thought you were going to say? Back in those days, we would go to family gatherings,
Yep.
and your family would put on the Hanukkah party.
Yep.
And it was so fun to go, and your mom would make the latkes and
right.
the matzo ball soup, and I mean it was a feast, right?
Yep.
And it was so much fun. And one year, Adam Sandler came up with
yes.
that song.
That's right. The Hanukkah song.
The Hanukkah song.
Yep.
And so I learned it on the guitar with your
did.
brother,
You did.
and we would get there and we would play the Hanukkah
Yep.
song. And that was like, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 years in a row, man.
Oh yeah,
Like,
it was.
yeah, it was
In
great.
fact, when you walked in and you saw Jamie, she remembered that too, that you would show up at those parties. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. Yeah, you
It
guys
has
did
been a
that.
long
Yeah.
time, man.
It's
We
been
are
a long
old.
time, brother.
But you look great, man.
Yeah.
You look great.
Okay, so why don't we start there? I
Yeah.
think that's a good transition. You competed recently,
Yeah.
and twice, I think, right?
Once.
Okay, it was
only
once.
competed once, yeah.
Well, I saw photos as you were doing it, but then I went back and referenced your Instagram, and maybe Micah, you could go to David's Instagram account and just bring up the photo so people can see it. But you look phenomenal, and I want to talk about that journey because I think you were sick or something.
Yes.
And that kind of caused you to take another look at your health. And you
Yes.
and I are both really conscientious about our health now. You know,
Correct.
we're post 50 and, I can talk a little bit about mine, but I really want to hear
Yeah.
what that point was where you said, that's it. And I'm going to make a change, what the changes were and what led you to this competition where you and you still look great. I'm not saying like, well, you let yourself go since you did the competition. I'm not saying that.
Since
You
May,
still
yeah.
look great, but it's like, wow, man, you really like that diet must have been something else. I think
Yes,
it's Coach
man.
Brownlee. There it is.
So yeah, when he pulls that
Yeah,
up,
there it is.
You can see. So this
Look at this
was May 28th, I think. This was the end of May, and so go back from there to ski season.
Okay.
And we're a skiing family, and we love skiing, super fun. And a buddy of mine calls me up and he says, hey, I've got this, he's an attorney. He's one of the best antitrust attorneys in the country, right? And so he's got all these vendors that want to impress him. And they say, hey, why don't you bring somebody and we'll fly you out to Deer Valley, Utah, put you up in the St. Regis, lots of swag, like backpacks, everything. And I'm like, what a great thing, And the idea was, there's never any time to do anything, right? So I was going to go there. I was going to ski a couple days and then go see my son's go-kart. My son races go-karts. And we could talk about that too,
Yeah.
the outdoor go-karts, super fun. And I'm like, but I'll get a couple days in. It's a good opportunity. Spend some time with a buddy of mine. So we go out there and we're skiing, and they actually gave us a ski guide who was taking us through the trees and some terrain you might not know about, right? And so it was super fun, some pretty challenging stuff. But it was a great time. And to get to another part of the mountain, we just had to take a nice little blue run. So if you're not a skier, it's just a very easy run, right? Just to go connect with another ski lift. Yeah. So we're coming down and, just very nonchalant. I'm coming down. Next thing I know, I just feel something on the right side of my body. It feels like a Mack truck just ran into me out of nowhere. And I'm just looking down. I lift up out of the air, into the air, spin my body around. So now I'm backwards and I land on the snow, and skis didn't even come off, but I just knew it was bad. And I rolled a little bit and I stopped. And all my other buddies were kind of in front of me. Like, this was really a nonchalant ski run.
Yeah.
And this thing happens, and whoever hit me didn't stop, but somebody else stopped and said, are you all right? And I'm like, I don't think so. So some of my buddies sidestepped up. I was in some pain in my abdomen area, but I was like, I'll just ski down and, go see what's up. Figured out I couldn't ski. So ended up on, snow patrol or the
gurney.
The gurney.
Yep.
Ended up on the gurney. If you ever seen the gurney, skied me down to the infirmary. And all of a sudden I had a pain and my stomach started swelling up. And then I didn't really know what that meant. I was just going to go back to the room and go to sleep. And the nurse comes up and she says, hey, do you mind going, I just called over to Park City Hospital. They want to see you. Do you mind going over there? I was like, yeah, no problem. And she's okay, the ambulance is out front. And now I'm thinking, what do you mean, the ambulance, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, we just want to make sure you don't have any internal bleeding.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was my pole ended up hitting me in the abdomen. And that's where a lot of that pain came from, and stretched my leg. So I probably had ripped some things in my groin area.
Yeah.
tendons or muscles or something. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. I go there. Doctor comes in, runs back out, comes back in and says, we're going to helicopter you right away to Salt Lake City, to a bigger hospital. You have internal bleeding. And I remember calling my wife, and she talked to the doctor, and all of a sudden it just starts dumping snow. Helicopter can't take off. So now I've got to get an hour down the mountain to this hospital.
Right.
And so they send another ambulance. I get in the ambulance, and I didn't know really what was going on. It's just the pain was getting pretty serious. I'm trying to do some mind control tricks, my coaching, background or whatever. We're going down the mountain. Gave me some pain medication. And as soon as we get to the hospital,
I'd say if you're considering joining the AmeriFund team, it's a really good idea.
We as processors at AmeriFund Home Loans support the loan officers in every aspect of the loan once it comes into processing because we want them out there marketing themselves and originating more loans and supporting more borrowers.
Competitive commission plans are a given, and powerful technology is expected, but what truly sets us apart is our culture. We've built a solid support system for our loan officers.
If you're interested in joining the AmeriFund team, go to amerifund.com/careers.
it was like a movie, man. There was like probably 10 people in scrubs ready to go into emergency surgery. And as soon as I got there, they wheel me in, and all of a sudden the internal bleeding had stopped somehow.
Huh.
Within that hour, it went from
Curious.
life or death situation. I found out later, my wife was talking to the doctor, and she asked the doctor, do I need to fly out? What do I need to do? You know, she was in L.A. for the go-kart race. And he says, well, don't fly out yet. We don't know if he's going to make it through. We'll know in the next 30 minutes or
Oh,
so.
my goodness. Wow.
Right?
What a scary call for your wife.
Scary call, man. And I didn't know any of this till after. So I was there for a few days.
Wait, stop.
Yeah.
How did the bleeding stop on its own?
Nobody knows, man. Nobody really knows.
Did they never perform surgery?
They did have to do some surgery. They went in there to look. The bleeding was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I had a fractured pelvis. I'd torn the ligaments and stuff in my abdomen and in my groin and different things. So I couldn't walk. You know, I had no ability to walk or anything like that. So, so I was there for a few days. I ended up being able to fly home. Brought in a hospital bed, put it in my bedroom. The kids loved it. They're like, "Hey, Dad, this is great. Can I watch Netflix?" You know, in the hospital bed, going up and down. You know,
Sure.
They loved it. And for me, I was on a walker, and I'm gonna say it. This is in public, right? Be our little secret. I had a catheter for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. And the catheter set up. I'm peeing in a bag. And my daughter, she was young, and she's always Miss Positivity. She's like, "Daddy, the good news is now you don't have to get up to go pee." I was like, "Thanks, baby.
great.
I appreciate it." But yeah, going to doctor's appointments, I had different specialists and different things. My wife would have to take my legs and bring them in and out of the car.
Because you just couldn't, you didn't have the muscle connection to do that.
Exactly. Didn't have the muscles to get in and out. I was on a walker. And, eventually, after several weeks, I had a physical therapist start coming to the house. And he's like, "Hey, you can start doing some things." And I'm like, "Man, I've got to do something." And what was funny was I was in a fitness competition to get to a certain weight. I think it was like 2-something. I was trying to get down to 190. And this was right in the middle of that fitness competition.
You were 2-something?
Yeah, 200.
Wait, so you're 6'1"?
6 feet.
You're 6 feet. Okay.
6 feet, yeah.
And you were 2-something.
I was
that
2-something.
muscle?
No, there was some muscle in there.
Okay.
But there was also a lot of fat
under
in there.
a layer of protective fat.
Protective fat. I like
Yes,
that.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, man. And so it was just some buddies of mine, and we're like, let's get into shape or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And so now I'm out of that thing, and I asked my physical therapist, I was like, "Is there anything I can do?" And I remember Pilates being invented by a boxer who was bedridden. And I'm not an expert on this, but I know he was doing Pilates in his hospital bed. So I started doing Pilates, started doing dips on my walker, right?
Okay.
Like the walker with
Sure.
the tennis balls on the
There,
end,
yep.
right? You started doing some dips, started doing some things. was started to watch my diet because I couldn't go out and exercise any more than that. And what's funny about that was from that hospital bed, I did hit my 190-pound mark, right?
Wow.
Which was weird, but what it really did for me was got me thinking.
Okay.
And my kids are young. I'm 53. My kids now are 9 and 12, and I was like, I want to be there for my kids, play catch with them, go on adventures, go hiking with them, want to be around for a while. And I really started taking it seriously. Like, without your health, nothing else matters.
That's right, 100%.
Nothing else matters. And so for me, that became that really perpetuated that health journey. And so I hired a coach, right? Hiring a coach. We all know that that's the best way to get there, whether you're LeBron James or Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods or whoever. So I hired this great coach. He's a professional bodybuilder. His name's Kemet O'Hara. He's great. He invented the K method. We could talk about that if you like.
Is he in San Diego?
He's actually based out of LA.
Oh, okay.
But he drove down to San Diego, got me on the program. We worked out nutrition, fitness. We'd work out together. He'd show me some of the workouts he wanted me to do. And it was funny. We worked together for about 4 months. So after the first month, dropped some weight, built some muscle. Second month, dropped a little more weight, built some more muscle. But my goal was to see my abs again. So we were in college. We knew each other in college. We could eat pizzas, hamburgers, In-N-Out. It didn't matter what it was, and you'd still wake up in the morning and have abs.
That's right.
It was just a freak of nature, right?
We never bloated back then. Like, what was bloating?
It was so easy, right? But we were active too, right?
Yep.
So we were doing the gym, we were doing whatever. Metabolism was fired up. Not so much these days, right? So for him, he was like, okay, start eating this diet, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought it would have been like the carnivore diet or paleo or ketosis, like all these different things. But it was a pretty balanced diet with foods that I enjoyed. Yep. So it was pretty easy. And so I really wanted to measure fat. So there's a machine called InBody. Are you familiar with this machine?
Yeah, Mike and I just filmed my DEXA scan because I've been doing that for a few years.
Yes.
Yeah, an InBody DEXA scan. Just a few months ago. So I got another, I do it every 6 months or so. But yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And while I was on this program, I was doing it once a week.
Yeah.
And so I would go in there and I could see the fat going down, and I could actually see the data of the muscle going up.
Yep. You see all of that. And the more important part is the part you don't see, and that's that internal fat around your organs, your visceral fat, right?
Yes.
That's the stuff that'll kill you. And this scan shows you that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can see it, right?
Yep.
And you can see it in real time.
That's
so
right.
the weight would fluctuate, right? And eventually would go down, but you could see the muscle go up and the fat go down. And I remember I had to me, it was a pretty arbitrary goal, right? 10% body fat, 190 pounds or something like that, right? And as we're going, the body fat's going down. I started at this round, I want to say, at my heaviest, I was probably 22% body fat. Probably close to 220. And it was going down and down. And then I was getting into like 17%.
Yeah.
Then down to 15%. And then started getting close to 10%. I'm like, this would be amazing. And maybe after a couple months, I think it was maybe 2 months, I was down to like 11% or something. And then my coach, to being the great coach, man, you might get down in the single digits. I was like, I don't know, man. I like, that would be amazing, right? And I remember going in, taking my scan, getting on the InBody, and it was like 9%.
Yeah.
And I freaked out, man. Like, I couldn't believe I was 9%. But there was one problem. My abs weren't exactly how I had imagined them at 9%.
Okay.
Which was a little weird, right? So I keep going, and then maybe 3 months in, maybe 2.5 months in, almost 3 months, he says, "Hey, man, by the way, there's a competition coming up at the end of May, and I think you should do it."
Okay.
And I said, "I think you should just stick to your job and just give me my nutrition and my thing. I'm not getting on a stage."
Okay.
Right. So it's like it's like the movies, right, where the main character says, "No, I'm not doing it."
And then,
right. And he's like, "Well, I really think you should do it, man." that it's going down, and I get to like 8%.
Wow,
And then to
man,
like
you-
7%.
that's something.
And then 6%. He's like, I think you should do it, you know? And then I'm doing a lot of keynote speeches, you know, and stuff. And he goes, finally, he's a great
you
coach.
also had been wearing different clothes. Like when you're going through that and you're losing that and you're losing your waist changes and you're tightening up your belt. Now you need different pants, and
That's
a
right.
big difference.
That's right. My pants, right? You
Yep.
know, I'm looking in there and there's a couple inches of
Yeah.
space. You know, I had to buy some new clothes and different things. And so you're absolutely right, you know. And as we're getting closer, he's a great coach. He goes, well, hey, I bet it would be a great story.
You love your story.
And I love the stories. It's what I do for a living. So I said, okay, man, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so we went in.
And tell us what these are, because I forget the name of these competitions. So it's always, by the way, this is not like you weren't proud of your legs, so you wore these board shorts. That's what you wear in these competitions. You wear board shorts.
Correct.
What's the name of these comps again?
Yeah, so this is the INBA, so it's natural bodybuilding,
Yep.
right? So they do drug test you, just like if you're drug testing for the Olympics, right?
Yep.
Make sure you've got no illegal substances or steroids or anything like that. So this one is called Men's Physique.
That's it.
And
Okay,
men's
thank you.
physique, they don't really care what your legs look like,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
you wear the board shorts. But there's ones that are classic where you'll be in more like the Speedo
That's
and
right.
stuff like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
So there's different ones, and there's different leagues. So this is the natural league.
Got it.
Some of the ones you might think of when you think of bodybuilding are a different league, right?
Okay.
So it's perfectly fine to use, you know, enhancing drugs
Sure.
and stuff. And those guys are gigantic, right?
Yep.
So this was just something for me to kind of prove to myself, you know, the end
Yeah,
the
it's
end of the
pretty
journey,
amazing.
right?
Yeah.
So there, I'm 3.8% body fat
That is incredible
and
discipline.
about 185 pounds,
Yeah, that is
something like that.
Yeah, you look great.
But it gets really cool. So getting there.
So how long ago was this?
This was so what are we in? We're in
November.
December, right?
Yeah,
Beginning of
yeah,
December.
we're- yeah, of
So this
course
was
we're
the end of
December.
May.
Okay.
June.
So this was just
essentially June.
This was 5 months ago.
Yeah, this
Got
was
it.
5 months ago.
Okay.
And it's funny. We went straight from here. My wife is from Italy, and we spend summers in Italy. So the way we timed it, my wife did this competition as well.
Oh.
And we're like, hey, we'll get to go to Italy. We'll get to eat, you know, and have some fun, you know, which is great.
Which is a great thing about eating there. It's
Yes.
not like eating here. The preservatives and all the like,
That's right.
Eat the bread, eat whatever.
You and
That's
I
the
talked
reason-
about that.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this.
Yeah.
You know, and we talked about. I don't want to divert too much from this story because I want to circle back to something.
Yeah.
But we talked about how great, at least the prospect of having Robert Kennedy come in and really clean up our food system. Will it happen? I mean, I hope so. But that's a long road to travel. And when you see these reports of like the same exact foods here in America, they have the same name on them, but they're in Canada or they're in Europe, and the ingredients are all different. And the food colorings are actual natural fruit colorings as opposed to all the things you can't pronounce. And that's really what causes America and Americans to be unhealthy more than anything else. So what I want to circle back to, and that's a nice tie-in, is the dieting portion.
Yes.
So, you and I had a very similar journey without comparing notes. We weren't talking through the period of time or whatever. But
yes,
when I turned 50, and I'm 56 now, I had I'd always exercised. You know that I always lifted weights and so forth. But I just didn't feel as healthy as I should be. Mm-hmm. My cholesterol was just like borderline. Not a worry. They weren't going to do anything. My blood pressure was slightly elevated. Not a worry. They weren't going to do anything about it. But I just felt like, God, I really should now just really take care of myself.
Yeah.
Of course, you start getting the colonoscopies and all that sort of thing, which is really important. Preventative. You got to do it, right? You just have to.
That's right.
When you're over 50, you're a male, get it done. You're female as well. You really should get it done. They find something early. It's not going to be a death warrant.
That's right.
But if you wait, it could be.
That's right.
So I just felt that way, and I did the same thing. I hired a trainer.
Yes.
I'd never hired a trainer before.
Yep.
I've never really paid much attention to my diet and the nutrition side of things. Mm-hmm. And I was so surprised. So I went December 31st, 6 years ago, and I worked out for the first time with the trainer.
Wow.
I said, okay, I'm ready to do this. And so he asked me questions. A guy I knew because his daughter danced with my daughter at my wife's dance studio and stuff. And I've always liked him. And he was giant. Back in the day, he was, him and his wife were on the cover of magazines and stuff. And nice. And he goes, so you work out? I go, yeah, I work out. He goes, you feel like strong? Can you like superset? And I go, yeah, I can do all that. Dude, I'm telling you, after about 30 minutes of working out with him, I was going to pass out.
Yeah.
I was like, I've now felt like this. I can't even freaking breathe. I go, fuck, I got to get this done. So this is just before COVID, right? Okay. So that's right. It was 2019, the last day of the year, in 2020. So for 3 months straight, nonstop, I didn't even have a piece of popcorn. He said, this is what you eat. This is when you eat it. This is what you weigh. Like, I'm sure you went through the same thing. So it was the foods like, chicken, lean chicken, turkey,
that's right.
Red meats. But it's when you eat it, it's
right.
Eggs and that sort of thing. It's when you eat it and the portions you eat.
That's right.
And if you just follow that, follow it.
Yep.
I didn't have any alcohol. There was nothing. I just followed what he said, and it just melts off of you. It literally, the way your body works, the fat just melts away.
That's
so
right.
By the end of 90 days, I had done the DEXA scan and followed up. He had me do it, once a month for those 3 months.
Sure.
And I went from I think it was closer to 23% body fat.
Okay.
I was shocked.
Okay.
At how much it was at the beginning. I looked okay. I carried it well.
Yeah.
But at the end of that, I was under 16 in 3 months.
Wow.
And I was like, and my abs were popping and all that sort of thing. And it just got me re-addicted. And I literally now work out almost every day, with the exception of if I'm traveling or doing something where I can't. Or even when I am actually on vacation, I'm working out. Yep. I go in the mornings wherever I am, whether it's a gym or the hotel gym or whatever it is. And it's just become my new lifestyle. And so I stay in this shape because I care to.
That's right.
It's just part of my lifestyle, and that's what I do. And I'm addicted to it. And
right.
I'm addicted to the feeling it gives me and the longevity. So the whole thing
right.
about being around for your kids and grandkids and all that, I already have a ton of friends that have died. That's right. And my age, or I'll bump into somebody and I'll be with one of my kids.
Yep.
And I go, yeah, I went to high school with that guy. And they're like, what? He looks like he's 15 years older than you. I just take care of myself.
That's right.
And we went through the same thing. You went through the exact same thing. We talked about the diet, and it works.
That's right. Diet is amazing. And what's funny about that? 6 years ago when you had a trainer and you felt like you were going to pass out after 30 minutes, you're not somebody who's new to that, right? You've been working out for 20, 30 years, right? And what ends up happening is we get in the same routine.
That's right.
We do the same exercises the same way, and your body's like, okay, right? Your body's not challenged in the same way that a coach will challenge you, right? Even though we've got the knowledge, we've got it built in, right? And that's one piece. But what I learned myself is you can't outwork a bad diet.
Yeah. 100%.
You can't do it. And even if I wasn't working out as hard as I was working out every day, and I was doing about, at the end there, maybe an hour of cardio a day. In the beginning, started out maybe 20, 30 minutes of cardio and built my way up. It's a slow process, right? With the diet, my diet did go through different phases or whatnot, but it was the same thing. Eating like lean chicken, rice, and spinach. I love spinach, right? But it could be spinach or any kind of green vegetable, right, that you enjoy. So for me, that was a delicious meal, but I didn't think you could lose fat by eating rice.
Yeah.
Right? Because we get told carbs are bad and carbs are great for energy and different things. And it's when you eat them.
Yep.
So I would wake up, I would have breakfast a little bit later, maybe like 7 o'clock or something like that. 3 hours later, I'd have a protein shake.
Every 3 hours.
Right? Every 3 hours, right? And then have lunch about 1 o'clock. The same type of meal with some sort of protein. It could be steak or lean beef or something. And what I really like is I like sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
the white sweet potatoes. You
yeah,
don't
so
have
there's
to
a
put
difference.
anything on them. You could just
Thank you.
boil them, and they're delicious.
That's right. It's not
Yeah.
easy to find sweet potatoes, the white ones. Everybody has yams.
Yeah, that's right.
Which are the orange ones, which they're okay, but I
don't
really
taste the
like
same.
the white ones are better. Yeah,
The
that's so
white ones
funny.
are better,
Yeah.
right? And then I'll put in like some broccoli or some asparagus or something like that. Lots of lean fish is
right.
good. That right before the competition, I was eating a lot of tilapia and sole, Dover sole, and cod.
Yeah.
Not my favorite, but I'm not
You're a
big
little
fish
fishy,
guy,
yeah.
right? Yeah, not my favorite. But at that point, it was worth it. And really, what you start to see is the day of the competition. My trainer could look at me and he'll say, "Eat this rice cake."
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, your muscles start to pop with a rice cake, right? He's like, "Hey, take a shot of this protein powder," right?
Yeah.
And then something else will happen, and you can really dial it in that tight.
Yeah.
Right. But just for if just somebody's watching this podcast, just getting in, eating certain times, and then I'd have a mid-afternoon snack, which might be Greek yogurt and piece of fruit, like maybe some grapes or something. There's these Quest protein chips. Have you ever tried these?
I have not.
Absolutely unbelievable. So instead of getting a thing of Doritos, right, you get a thing of these Quest chips, like the nacho cheese.
Okay.
They're absolutely amazing. 13 grams of protein, and you eat that in an apple, and that's
Yeah.
a great thing. Maybe like around 4:00, and then you have dinner.
Through
Same
that
thing.
through that entire journey, it was a learning experience, a nutrition side of it for me. And
Yes.
for those of you that have not gone through that think you're eating well or whatever, you would be shocked to understand that you're not. And especially when it comes to labels, like if you're eating packaged food,
That's right.
it's so deceiving.
That's right.
Things that say they've got 23 grams of protein or whatever, or no sugar, but the things that convert to sugar that are in the ingredients that, they can claim it's no sugar because there's no sugar added, but there are other ingredients that convert.
That's right.
And you're having that on a daily basis, and it's affecting your physique, it's affecting your health, and you don't know it because you're following these labels. And so I think, I hope that part of the revamping of our food system here in America does get a better system of control, so people that aren't aware of these things don't have to rely on somebody to educate them on it. They can just rely on the labels themselves.
So here's a question for you, because I'm excited about RFK Jr. as well, right? Coming in and revamping, but you got to look at, let's look at what he's up against, right? So he's up against, the Nestle's of the world, right? Like these big food companies, processed food companies specifically, right? They're funding studies to tell you that processed food is good for you, and all these things are great. Pharmaceutical companies, right? Because if we're sick and we have chronic diseases and we have more than anybody else, right? We spend more on healthcare than anybody else in the world, but we're not living as long as our counterparts. So you're sick. Hey, that's great, right? And then somebody's paying for that, somebody's getting paid, the insurance company. So these are huge, huge companies, huge lobbies, right? My question to you is, do you think one man or woman or, idea can go up against that behemoth of trillions of dollars and make a difference?
It takes one person to start with. That's how I'd answer it. I'm hopeful that it'll have impact, but I think now is the time. And if ever we had a shot at it, it is now. And so do I think in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years it's going to be totally different? No, I'm not naive, but it could have impact, and it could have real impact and lasting impact, because that all happens through awareness. And look at what's happened over the last 6 months. How there's been a shift, not even 6 months, it's probably been 3 months, how there's been a shift in the way people think about things versus, say, during the COVID time. Yeah. And so I am hopeful, but, it really is an awareness thing, and it really is campaigns for awareness more than anything else. Because once the majority speaks out, things change. Yeah. And that just comes from awareness. And I think one of the things that brings that to the forefront is social media. Yeah. And so if you're on social media and your feed has some of these things that have nutrition on them, and you're following doctors and that sort of thing, you are actually educating yourself. And the more of that happens, I think it helps to get that silent majority out there to effectuate a change. For example, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Impossible burgers, good or bad?
Well, I happen to know a little bit about Impossible Burger. Not the healthiest thing for you, right? Like it's the different ingredients that are in there. But it's, the idea is that it's not meat, so it's better for you.
Right.
Right. And those are very processed meat. So I know a little bit about it because my wife is a vegetarian.
Yeah.
So even though she's a bodybuilder, she's a vegetarian. She's got to take kind of what's out there. And when you look at Beyond Burger, Impossible Burgers, they're not that great for you. And they're very processed, right?
Yeah,
They're very processed.
Very processed.
Yeah.
And the newest reports show they're literally not good for you.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
And so these are the types of things. It's like, but if you look at the packaging and you look at the advertising, you get sold on it.
That's right. And this is why I asked you that question, because awareness is good. But if we're being real, right? If we were to sit any adult down here and we asked them, we said, what are the good things to eat? They'd name off the broccoli and everything. Everybody knows, right? Most people know, right? They know that when they pull into a fast food restaurant, right? I won't name any, right? But they pull in there and they order the big meal with the Coke, extra sized, and the fries and the burger or whatever it is, right? They understand that that's not great for them, right? But why do it anyway, right? It's a habit. It's ingrained into our society. We're bombarded with it, with the billboards, and social media, to radio. It builds a habit. And what was interesting when I was on this journey, my coach never said you're not allowed to eat X.
Right.
You're not allowed to eat Y. It was simply eat this. Mm-hmm. And I know it seems like a subtle difference.
It is.
But I never felt like I was missing out on anything. In fact, he said, so once a week, I want you to be able to cheat a little bit, right? Eat anything you want for one meal, right? And he goes, if you want ice cream, like I'm not a big candy guy, but I like ice cream, right? He said, there's this ice cream, it's called Halo Top, very low calories. And again, it's processed. It's not good for you, right? But it's not as bad as some other choices, right? Yeah. So I never felt like I was deprived of anything. And that allows me to make it more of a habit.
That's
right?
true.
If you choose to do it. And so if we know what's healthy and we start to build that habit collectively, right? Like how do you do it? How do you get around like wanting a package of Doritos? Well, here's another alternative. Another thing I like is cereal. Right? Cereals are some of the worst things for
especially in America.
Especially in America. Like in Canada, it might be a little better. In Europe, it's a little better. But my coach came up with this thing. And again, it's processed food, right? But again, you can kind of weigh. So you take rice cakes. Mm-hmm. So here's a little recipe I'm going to give you.
Interesting.
All right, here's a little recipe I'm going to give you. It's you take 2 rice cakes. I like the cinnamon, right? So caramel crunch or whatever is pretty good too. You ground them up, put them in a bowl. And then you go get carb milk. You can get it at Kroger's or from Ralph's. It's called carb milk. Comes in a little purple carton. You put the carb milk in there. You get a tablespoon of almond butter. You put that in there. Half cup of or a half scoop of whey protein, vanilla whey protein. You put it in there. You pour it on. You mix it all up. Tastes just like Sugar Smacks. Do you remember Sugar Smacks?
Of course.
Back from the 80s? Like the frog and delicious. It's delicious, right? So now it's not amazing for you, right?
Right.
But it's an alternative
Sure.
that can still allow you to live a healthy lifestyle. So David, great, you look like that, but what about behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Right? So I went to my doctor and, because I had some friends who hadn't done this who were kind of worried about 3.8% body fat. That's too little, man. You got to eat more. You pass out, blah, 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 blah. So I go to my doctor. And he ran a panel. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens. And we've got the app now, which is great. So you can see all your blood work and everything. There were, out of dozens and dozens and dozens of things, there was one thing that was a little elevated, but it wasn't to anything that was bad, was the cholesterol. Mm-hmm. And he said that's totally natural from all the protein. And I did eat a lot of red meat because I wasn't on the fish as balanced as I could have been. Right. So it was a little bit high, but nothing to worry about. Right. Everything else was was right in line, right?
Yeah.
And so once we start building that habit, it's easy. So then it's funny, you're out with friends. I wasn't drinking alcohol. I still don't drink alcohol. It's been a couple of years now.
Okay.
But for me, we're out at happy hours, and people are ordering whatever they're ordering, right? And I'll just get like some chicken satay, without some sauce on it or something. I'll get a sparkling Topo Chico or something like that. So it becomes part of your lifestyle.
It does.
And you don't end up missing things, right?
You don't, and
end
you
up
lose a lot of
missing the
those
FOMO.
cravings over time as well. Like
That's
you
right.
just do. You just don't have those same cravings. I don't crave pizza, things of that nature. And I'm not, look, I don't eat perfectly anymore. Like readily. Like
That's
if
right.
I want to go have In-N-Out, I'll go have a 4x4. Like I will.
You should be able to do that.
And as long as, and I tell people this all the time, especially those that feel they're really far away from being in shape.
Yes.
They're overweight. Everything they do, it's all about food, and they're depressed. The one thing you could do to really change that to start with is walk every single day. Just walk.
That's right.
Just literally walk. Before work, after work, during lunch, whatever it is, just walk every day, and then keep increasing the period of time you're walking for and the distance. Keep improving that. And if you only did that and no other changes, you're going to lose weight, number
right.
one. Then it causes a whole mental shift.
That's right.
And then you start throwing in the nutrition stuff. Cut out the things that you think are good for you that are not good for you.
That's right.
Really learn about it. And before you know it, literally within 90 to 120 days, you're a different person. Problem is that people don't stick with it. They start, they stop, they start, they stop. And it's because they want immediate gratification. Whereas if you told them or you force them not to be able to cheat in that period of time, they would never look back, like you and I haven't.
That's right.
You get past that 90, 120 day mark. Like I can literally eat whatever, not every day, but I could eat whatever when I want to. I still drink. I have this rule.
Yeah.
I don't drink on a school night.
It's great.
Yeah,
That's
great.
great.
I just don't. If I've got work the next day, that's not what I do.
That's
if
right.
I'm on vacation, that may be a different thing. But I don't drink in excess. But I enjoy a cocktail. I enjoy a cigar every now and then. And, I'm living life and I'm enjoying it, but I take care of myself. And that's why I'm able to do that without guilt.
That's the key, right? Because there's a balance to it, right? If 80% of the time you're eating healthy, you're working out, you're doing something, and 20% of the time you're enjoying whatever it is you enjoy, whether it's a cigar or a drink or a 4x4, right?
Yeah.
You can still look like that and be healthy and live your life, right?
That's right.
It's the other extreme that gets you, right? An extreme of anything is not great. So what's interesting is when you start building that habit and you start doing it, you lose the cravings for the things that you don't need. And it's funny, even something sweet, when you eat an apple or you eat a grape or something and you've been eating clean for, like you say, like 90 days, 120 days, it's so sweet. Your taste buds literally change.
Yep, they do.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really fun. The hardest part is not seeing the result. Even starting on this journey, after the first 3 weeks, it's not dramatic change.
Oh no, yeah.
You're like, I don't know if it's going to work or not. Right.
Yep.
But you stick with it.
But by
and the
6
next
weeks,
month, by 6 weeks, right?
That's right. If you're
the next month,
disciplined.
you're like, oh wow, I see a difference, and people start telling you they see
And
the
they
difference.
start saying, and your face starts to shrink, and your
right.
jawline starts to show.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, I'm gonna fast forward. There was a lot of training and nutrition and all that, which is cool because we're both on that similar journey.
That's
And
right.
I think people get a lot from that. But
That's right.
I want to talk for a minute about your experience in Nicaragua, where you were kidnapped and you were stabbed, and what that did for you. Because that story. So on David's YouTube. On the home page of the YouTube, he's got the automatic video that plays, and it's this story.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about this not just because it's an interesting story, because people can go to YouTube and watch it. That's fine.
Right.
But just kind of the result of that, what had happened, and then the fact that story is there kind of prominent in your YouTube, and that storytelling is part of this whole thing that you do as a coach, as a business coach.
That's right.
So, you've done the 2 books you've written, right? And with all the coaching you do across the nation, and the sales training, and making the customer feel number one, and all these things, like you've done such an amazing thing. But at the root of that, what I get from you is it's about storytelling.
Yes. And I'm, I love that you brought that up, right? There's, to me, especially once you're in your 50s, right? You've had these life-defining moments, right? And it's different for everybody, right? So if somebody's watching right now, you may have had a life-defining moment, right? Something where everything changes, right? And for me, one of those moments was definitely that it was in Nicaragua, down in Central America. And, at that point, I'd been in LA. I had a DJ company and I was moving around in different circles, and it was really a lot, live events, a lot of stress and different things. So a buddy of mine had sold everything he owned and moved down to Costa Rica and living the life, right? He was going to open up a coffee shop, ended up going into real estate, opened up, some Century 21 offices down there. And we would go down and visit. Right? We would just go down, visit, relax, try to learn how to surf, just kind of detox a little bit. And it was great. And I remember one night we're sitting down there and we're drinking some beers, and the moonlight's out, the waves are crashing. We're in these little cabinas. And I go, man, you got the life. And he goes, man, you can have the life too. Why don't you come down and join me? I'm like, I can't do that. I got responsibilities. I got this company going, whatever. And he goes, come, just give it a shot, right? And I hadn't met my wife yet. Luna,
okay.
Right? And I said, oh, man, that's something interesting. I'm single, right? I always wanted to learn Spanish, right? And it's pretty cool. And he says, hey, just over the border from Costa Rica is Nicaragua. We'll go visit Nicaragua. And the first time we went over the border. We went to a town called San Juan del Sur. Mm-hmm. It's where all the tourist boats come in and everything. And I was like, man, this is like vacation. White sand beaches, palm trees. People were beautiful people, very nice, kind people. And I said, man, this could really be some adventure for me, right? And I've always loved to travel, right? So my friends and I, we had this 50-50-50 club. See if we can get to 50 states and 50 countries by the time we're 50. And I hit it on my 50th birthday. My 50th state was Alaska. We went on an adventure in Alaska.
You did. You took that jet ski across the ocean. I saw your video.
We did 500 miles on a jet ski through the inner passageways from Ketchikan, Alaska to Juneau, Alaska.
Wow.
And my 50th country, which was funny, is the Emirates. We were in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And it happened to be the 50th anniversary of the country.
Oh, wow.
So it's my 50th birthday, my 50th state, and it's the 50th anniversary of the Emirates. Cool. So everything was 50. And I'm a big F1 fan, so I was at the race in Abu Dhabi, the last race of the season, all these things. So I was like, oh, man, this could be a great adventure moving down here. So fast forward, I meet my wife. We were going to a play with some friends, and I meet this lady, and I was like, wow, man, she's amazing. Easiest first date of my life. And I had to tell her, hey, I'm learning Spanish. I had stickers all around my house, like, refrigerador, trying to learn how to speak Spanish. And I'm like, I'm moving to Nicaragua. Why don't you come with me? And she tells me now, she's like, I didn't really get it if you were just visiting or if you're going to live there. So I go down to Nicaragua. She came with me, and she was a massage therapist at the time. We opened up a day spa. We put it in one of the nice hotels down there and opened up a day spa down in San Juan del Sur. We did this show called House Hunters International. Mm-hmm. We didn't think anybody was going to see it. It was on HGTV. It was this brand new show, and we did it just for fun. A friend of mine asked me to do it. We did it. And so everything was going great. We were down there for a couple years, and then finally one night, a friend of mine called me, and he said, hey, there's a sushi restaurant. And sushi, we had been missing sushi, sure. Right? He said there's a sushi restaurant in Managua. Managua's the capital. So that's right. Kind of like the New York City of Central America.
It's about 2 hours from San Juan del Sur.
2 hours from San Juan del Sur. We go out there and we're like, hey, let's make a weekend of it. Got a hotel. We'll stay in the hotel, went to dinner. And at the time I said, man, maybe I'll have some sake or something. So let's take a cab. So we take a cab. We go out there. And, we have dinner. Great. They're flying in sushi or fish from Japan. It was amazing. Great night. We're getting ready to leave to go back to the hotel, maybe 10-minute ride. And I see a taxi cab. And I'm like, oh, baby, there's a taxi cab. Let's just go jump in the cab. Jump in the cab, start driving. And all of a sudden he goes, tengo que urinar. And I'm like, tengo que orinar. Got to take a leak. It's weird. I'm like, do whatever you got to do. Pulls over, walks out into the field, urinars, comes back, gets in, we start driving. About a minute later, he pulls over and some guy gets in the front seat, which is a little weird, right? But they have something called a cooperativo, which is like, Uber ride share, right? So he gets in and we start driving. He's got, Eye of the Tiger playing, the wind's down, wind's coming our face, we're driving along. Then he pulls over again. And now somebody gets in the back seat. So if you can imagine, we got the driver, we got some other guy in the front seat. I'm behind the taxi driver. My wife's Luna's next to me, and now there's some other guy. And you get that sinking feeling that something's wrong. Mm-hmm. This was that moment.
Yep.
All of a sudden, the guy in the front seat pulls out a gun and he says, "La plata, la plata, la plata."
Are you a tech investor looking to shape the future of real estate? HomePie is the #1 for sale by owner marketplace, and we are revolutionizing the way homes are bought and sold. I'd love to hear from you. Just email invest@homepie.com and let's chat. Now back to the show.
Puts a gun in my face. Mm-hmm. So I grabbed the gun.
Which is amazing.
Because I know he can't shoot me, right? But what I didn't realize is the buddy sitting next to my wife was his partner. And he pulls out a knife and comes at me and he catches me right here.
Yeah.
And then he pulls back
pointing
again.
To the side.
I'm pointing to my side. He catches me right in the ribs on my right side. Yep. Pulls back and he shoves it straight into my right thigh. He pulls it out. Blood's going everywhere.
Yeah.
And that was the moment when I knew we had to bring everything down. And as funny as it sounds, dude, everything I've ever learned in influence, leadership, sales, customer service, even dealing with people and that communication, being able to talk down the situation.
And you were doing that in Spanish?
In Spanish, by the way. Yeah. So I thank God I did learn Spanish. Yeah. And going through this exercise with them, what do they want? They wanted the money. Finally ended up going to ATM. They got like $300 or something like that. They got my wedding ring. My wife took her wedding ring off and sat on it. So they never saw it. It was like our protector, right? And so there's more to the story, but by the way, if
you're listening to this, go to YouTube and watch it. It's worth it.
You can watch it on YouTube. We end up in the Beverly Hills area of Managua, and they say, "Hey, you're gonna get out. Close your eyes." And we just sat there listening for the next
that could have been it.
And that could have been it. Could have been a gunshot. That would have been it.
And instead?
But instead, they got in the cab and they drove off. Yeah. And you ever see those movies, like the zombie movies, the B movies, right? At the end, the credits are rolling. They survived the zombies, I took my shirt off. I tied a tourniquet and I'm limping, walking with my wife, down the road. Everything was fine. I was in the hospital for a day or so. And then it was one of those defining moments that you start thinking about getting a second chance.
Yeah.
And sitting there, I was like, wow, did I do enough to make a difference in this world?
Yeah.
Did I love enough? Did I contribute enough? And I was like, man, there's more I can do. And at that point in my life, I was kind of in a crossroads anyway. I wasn't in the entertainment industry anymore. And, it felt like something was kind of missing. Didn't know what that next chapter was going to be. And I decided it downloaded to me, as probably more appropriate, that I wanted to dedicate my life to helping people one person at a time.
Yeah.
And that became my life's purpose. I love speaking and coaching, and that became my passion. Partnered with Tony Robbins for a number of years, and got to travel with Tony. It was great, and got to really discover how to get somebody from where they are in pain to where they want to be, which is out of pain.
Yeah.
And whether it's in business or in personal life or in sport or in entertainment or whatever it is, to be able to help somebody close that gap, that became my passion.
That's just an incredible story, and definitely a turning point in your life, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
And a defining moment. I just have a question, because we both know you were friends with my brother before me. My brother lives in San Juan del Sur.
That's right.
And, he moved down there decades ago, and he had a yoga retreat. Then he sold that, moved back for a minute, then moved back down. He's developed property there and other things. And now he has a surf camp. So was this while he was already down there? Were you down there during the same period of time?
Yeah, he was down there during the same period of time. He may have been back in the States
for
he was
that
back
short
in the
period.
States for a period.
Yeah, it was like 3 years.
He may have been back in the States, and that was our experience. We had there were some other expats who lived there who had other experiences, kidnappings. A friend of ours got shot, in a home invasion, and it was around 2008, and when the global economy goes down, unfortunately, some of those third world countries, the crime rate goes up, and things start happening, and that's what had happened. But to me, Nicaragua is a beautiful place, beautiful people. Inside
that town, especially because I went and I spent some time there. A few months ago. And what a fun little town!
It's a fun town.
And my brother is almost like the mayor there. He's got this giant piece of property that sits kind of right above the town. And everybody knows him.
That's right.
And he plays his guitar. He goes, they like to have fun down there. They play music and have bars and dancing and all that stuff on like every day of the week. And we would go, and everybody knew who he was. And of course, he speaks fluent. I say now, English is a second language for him. He's like lost his grammar. He's like he doesn't speak good English anymore. He certainly doesn't write good English.
That is great.
So, but yeah, it's a fun
really
little place.
Great
you really
community.
are as an American. You don't really have rights as an American down there. Still, he's married to a Nicaraguan, and so it's a little bit better for him. But there were some scary times that he had down there too. I don't know if he ever told you about them.
Yeah, there are some scary times. Like a friend of ours. He had a Nicaraguan girlfriend. He's American. I don't know if you remember this story or not, but she was unfortunately murdered, and she was killed, and it was just tragic. It was absolutely awful. And he was 2.5 hours away at the time. He was on a Skype call with somebody from the press, the American press, and on one of his business things that he was doing. But he ended up getting accused for the murder. Spent some time in prison.
Yep.
And I was visiting him in
No
prison.
questions asked. They just throw you in.
Yeah. He wrote a book called The Gringo Nightmare.
Yeah.
And and Condoleezza Rice at the time was able to get him out, but he was 48 hours, CNN, like all these different things. So and then he got out of prison. He was in for maybe about a year, and then we had another friend, American, that they put in on some false charges. He's from Seattle. Somebody was able to get him out of prison and stuff. So that's like kind of the dark side of some things that happened. But on the positive side, like the community was awesome. I remember I had a birthday party, and my wife threw a surprise party for me in a house. And I was up in the house, and I walk in, everybody said, surprise! And it's everybody from the city. Everybody from the town.
Literally.
Nicaraguans, expats, Europeans, Americans, Canadians, everybody. And it was so great, right? And that's kind of what life was like.
Yeah.
You'd run into somebody down in the street, and you're like, what are you doing for dinner tonight? I don't know. Let's all go up to the restaurant together. So it was a really great community. So he's getting to enjoy that type of lifestyle now, which I think is great.
I love it. Yeah. He's visiting this week. I told you that. And I love his new wife. She's awesome. And she's Nicaraguan, and she's learning her English and getting better and better at it. But we have a good time with her. So, but you're right about that. It is a community feel, and
right.
It definitely is at third world country, though. It's
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, you do feel like you're in a third world.
And I will tell you, we went to a wedding not long after that incident in the cab in New York, and we were in New York, and obviously, there was luckily nothing happened to my wife physically, but the trauma and mentally was big. So we were not in taxi cabs. We were even getting in a town car was a little sketchy. Yeah. And we went to this wedding, and we were recounting the story to somebody, and he said, hey, I'm here in New York. I came home the other day. Somebody was in front of my apartment, robbed me, took my backpack, my phone, my wallet, my everything in New York City.
Yeah, it can happen anywhere.
Right, it can happen anywhere, and those are some of the things that you think about. Life happens everywhere, right?
That's right.
And the biggest thing is, can you learn something from it? Right? Does it change you in some way? Yeah.
Well, listen, buddy, I want to pivot because I want to talk about one more thing. You've been here a long time, and I know you're busy, but I want to talk about just what you do for work, what you do to help people in business. You've written 2 great books, and we'll put that in the notes under the podcast. But you teach people how to for lack of a better description, how to sell for a lifetime, how to create a customer that'll be there time and time again, be a referral source for you,
That's right.
come back when they have the next need. And there's just a lot of, Nihao, come on in. I'll repeat that. It's the key's on my desk. Okay.
I saw you looking.
Do you need a
over,
car?
like, I
Do you
don't
need
see
your car
anything.
washed?
What's that?
Do you need your car washed?
No, it's a rental. I'm
Okay.
good. I'm good.
All right. You didn't take a taxi cab up
No,
there.
no taxes. Yeah.
So anyway, going back to, so you teach people how to create customers for life.
Yes.
Tell us a basic premise of that. Like, what is it that you can do as a business professional or sales professional to really create a raving fan?
My advice for someone selling their home: number 1, do it yourself and save. Number 2, use HomePie.
HomePie makes it easy to buy or sell without an agent. I can list a home in minutes and start receiving offers right away from buyers.
When we discovered that we didn't have to lose $40,000 in agent commission just to upsize to a larger home, it was an obvious choice.
List your home for free at homepie.com. Keep your piece of the pie.
That's a great question. And so here's the way I think about it. Think of your favorite rock star or your favorite musician. Who's your favorite? Or it could be an athlete, entertainer.
Oh, gosh. I always have a problem nailing down like a favorite.
Who's somebody you like?
Let's say Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone,
Yeah.
right? So if Sly walked in here right now, you'd be pretty impressed.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, great. So he wants to get a loan from you, right? He wants to come be on your podcast, right? What would you do to make sure that Sylvester Stallone became a client for Lie?
Make him feel very important.
Yes, make him feel important, right? Would you treat him like a rock star?
For sure.
Absolutely, right? So a lot of times I'll ask people, like if from stage, giving a keynote, or if I'm doing a training or something, I'll say, well, let me ask you this. When was the last time you treated your client like Sylvester Stallone?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they're like, ooh, wow. And then I ask them a question like, what would be possible in your business if you treated every single customer like Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah.
Now, you're a little different, right? Again, need I remind you, right? You understand that those customers for life, right? And, when you read the typical customer service book, I've read them all, just about, they always say, you got to wow your customers. You got to wow your customers, right? How do you wow your customer? At some point, you're going to buy them a pony, right? It's going to work out. So I take a different approach. I'm like, you don't have to wow your customer. You need to build a relationship with your customer. Mm-hmm. That's different, right? Like if you're my loan guy and you were my loan guy, you helped me buy a house back in the 90s, you were my loan guy. Brad's my loan guy. Oh, you got to talk to my loan guy, right? When I'm buying the house, like, oh, who'd you get the loan with? Oh, my guy, Brad.
Everybody wants to be a hero.
Call my guy,
Yep,
right?
and refer somebody good.
Because we have a relationship, right? The guy at my cleaners, it's taken me a long time to find a good cleaners that I like. I'm always on the road. I'm always bringing stuff in. I need it tomorrow, right? I'm that guy. And my cleaner, he's like, hey, David, and it's funny because I'm always running. I'm always going, always on a plane. He said, you know what? You're always in a rush. I'm going to give you this bag. And he gives me a blue bag that has my name on it, right? Safety pin on it says Brownlee. And he says, keep this in your closet. Whenever you take off a shirt or whatever, you put it in the bag. Yep. You bring it here. You just drop it off. We'll know it's yours, and I'll text you when it's ready. We'll try to get it to you the next day because I know you're probably getting on a flight.
Yeah. Yep.
Am I going anywhere else with my laundry?
That's right.
Like with my clothes, right? He's my guy. We've built this relationship. And there's only 3 things you have to do to build a relationship, whether it's 30 seconds, whether it's 3 minutes, or whether it's 30 years. The first thing is you want your customers to feel heard. So you listen to your customers. Listen to your feedback, right? It annoys me when people say, oh, take this survey, let us know how we did. And if you tell them they screwed up, nobody reaches out to say, sorry, we screwed up, or we're working on this to get better, right? Look at online reviews, right?
That's right.
Your customers want to be understood. Do you understand what I'm trying to do? Do you understand what I need from you? And the third one is probably one of the most important is, do they feel cared for? Mm-hmm. Do they feel like you even care? or are they just another number?
Right.
Right. And as companies scale and they get larger, a lot of times the founder has this great idea, like even Sam Walton with Walmart, right? Wants to deliver a great service for you, right? Wants you to feel heard, wants you to feel understood, cared for. You walk into a Walmart now that it's this big global, the biggest retailer, do you feel very heard, understood, and cared for? Absolutely not, right? So it can shift as well. So if you have a company, go back and look at your customer journey. Call up your own company. I always say, like, if CEOs would call up just their own company, they'd understand why $43 billion a year is being lost due to poor customer service.
It's like undercover boss.
Undercover boss.
Yeah.
Right? You're gonna realize the people who are standing out.
Yeah.
The people who are not standing out, what systems and policies you have in place that are broken, that don't support your vision, mission. Are your vision and mission and values dying somewhere on a website? Right? So those are some of the things. And when you can build a relationship, that's what gets people coming back over and over and over again.
So let me ask you this. So that resonates, and I think anybody in sales or a business owner, they would say, like, absolutely, those
Correct.
are table stakes. Like, you've got to do that. And many of them don't. Maybe they don't care to, but maybe they think they are, but it doesn't actually resonate through the company, and it doesn't translate to actually being part of that, the fabric of the company. I'll attest to that. Like, there are things that sometimes get lost. And you have to keep reminding people. I just started a new weekly meeting with my ops staff that is about creating excellence for our customers, which is our customers are twofold. In my mortgage company, it's our loan officers, our customers, our salespeople, and then it's our borrowers who are our customers who are actually getting the loans. So we've got to make sure that we're overwhelming them. Everybody that we help should be a raving fan, should do a 5-star review. And if we're not doing that, then we're missing the mark. Here's what I think is the biggest challenge. I'd like to hear your opinion on how to improve this. It's one thing to build that relationship. And sometimes this is like, some people have the ability to build relationships, some people don't. It's a personality thing. Can you meld with a David Brownlee and have a conversation with him, and then have a talk with a Micah and have a conversation with him, and still have that same connection? Totally different people, different life experiences. Can you relate to both, right? And not everybody can do that. But let's say you can.
Yep.
Let's say you can do that you're really good at building that initial relationship, building the comfort, and that they're a raving fan, and they even like for weeks after that they'll give your name out and you'll hear from somebody.
Yeah.
But then you did a loan for them in 1999, and you never did another loan for them after that.
Yeah. That's the low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit. So I call them customer care calls. Customer care calls. So you close the loan, right? And if you're a salesperson, what do you do next?
Move on to your next loan.
Bingo. Right? And now this person's got a loan. Great. They're making their payments. They're doing whatever. How often is somebody following up to say, how's the loan going? Or not even how's the loan going? How's the home you just bought?
Right.
How's the neighborhood? How's the schools? Do you need anything? Are you looking for babysitters or daycare or whatever? Just how you doing?
I will say it's a tough thing as a salesperson, because you need to put the next next loan has to close, put food on the table.
That's right.
And so we put systems in place. We automate things, right?
Yes.
We use our CRM, and so we're sending out the birthdays and the happy Thanksgivings and these things. And maybe even if you're a cut above, you do what I've done for 30 years. I send out a postcard to get through the noise every other month. I've been doing that for decades.
Yes.
And so that's another way to automate. It is, and it does generate repeat customers, but it's still not the same.
That's right.
It's still, because I guarantee you, Mr. Brownlee, they've gotten several mortgages since 1999, and it weren't through my company. And I'm not bringing that to put you on the spot, but I'm saying that we missed the mark.
Got it.
And so maybe even in my database, your information isn't completely accurate. That I've lost that.
Probably not.
Right.
It's probably from back when I lived in LA.
It
right?
very well could be.
That's a very good point. And what demonstrated this to me is I rented a car from Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And I love Enterprise. I'll talk about those guys all day, right? And I rented a car, and I get a phone call from Enterprise. And the first thing that comes to my mind is that dent was already there. And you told me it was okay. And it wasn't bigger than a quarter. But, right, this is where my mind goes. And they just say, oh, Mr. Brownlee, we just wanted to call and see how your rental went. You did?
Yeah.
It was fine. Great. Well, if you need anything in another rental in the future, just let us know. So here's the magic, right? Many years ago, I had a coaching client, business coaching client, and she owned a climbing gym, one of the biggest ones in California, huge. And she was having a problem. She needed more members, right? So she had maybe a couple hundred members and was trying to expand membership. Nothing was really working. She was trying marketing. She was trying all these things. I said, okay, we're going to do something very simple. For the next 30 days, we're going to take one person on your team, and they're just going to go through your 200 people, and they're going to make a call, and they're just going to say, how's everything going? That's it. How's everything going? Everything with your membership, blah, 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 blah. If everything's going great, you ask them one question. You say, who else do you want to climb with? I promise we'll take excellent care of them. Oh my gosh. Well, my neighbor down the street is always asking me where I'm going. I'm going to the... We doubled her membership. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but the membership doubled in less than 6 months.
Yeah.
Doubled the membership, not $1 on marketing,
Sure.
right? The people were already there doing stuff, right? And just built into their day, they were making these calls.
Yeah.
So imagine if you got a call from something that you bought, like maybe it's your car. This is another one that people miss, right? Your car dealership, the guy who sold you the car is just like, hey, how's the car, man? You're a vet guy, right?
Yeah.
Corvette.
I have one.
Hey, how's that Corvette, man? Dude, is it a V10? Or what do you got on that thing?
Yeah, it's a V8.
Yeah, V8. How's that V8, man? That thing is good, right? Man, who else you want to race down the street?
Yeah.
Right?
Look, your auto salespeople are notorious for not following up, and then the next time you go to that dealership, it's another guy, and then it's another guy, and they could so easily build a book of business and repeat. And the few that do, kill it.
They kill it.
They're never going to have to move on to another profession.
You know who else kills
it?
Is the dealership. Right? Because now they've got a relationship. This is my dealership. I'm not going to search for even the cheapest person to fix my car.
Right.
I'm going to my people. Right? They give me coffee. I get to talk with Jimmy. I get to do whatever. Right? So that's the low-hanging fruit. A lot of times as business owners, we start thinking like, what marketing campaign am I running next? What sales thing am I doing? What biz dev am I doing? Which is all important.
Yeah.
Let me be very clear. Right? But in a pinch, especially in low-hanging fruit, you can go get 2 or 3 new clients today with a warm lead. And the great thing about the warm lead is they're 70% more likely to buy than a cold lead.
For sure. No question about that.
Yeah.
I think the challenge from a business owner perspective, because I'm not on the front lines. I haven't been there for a long, long time. We could tell this to our salespeople, but then getting the performance is a whole different thing. So I love this. Okay, perfect. Because I give a class training that I call the 90-day blueprint. And this is for new loan officers, and it's for loan officers who just need a reset. They never maybe set up the foundation of their business the right way to begin with. And it is a daily task. So think of it as like your trainer getting you at it, back in shape.
Yep.
It's a daily task that you can take in bite-sized pieces that at the end of 90 days, you would have the foundation of your database put together, complete with all complete information. Because the beauty about like our business, the mortgage business, and I've got other businesses too, but specifically about the mortgage business is everybody is a potential customer. So your dry cleaner guy, he's a potential customer.
That's right.
Your dentist is, the waitress waiting you at it. Everybody is a potential customer. So if you could, everybody that you meet that would recognize you by face or by name were in your database with complete information, name, phone number, email address, physical address, and notes about referencing how you know them and what your last conversation was.
Right.
If you had those 5 bits of pieces of information, most people at least know 200 people, but more likely 500, and very many of us 2,000 plus. You would never have to fish for business again. You would only be the customer service guy that continued to call your database and check in with people. And that's it. And that's all you would have to do. But telling people that and having them do it, two different things. So how
That's
do
the
you
key.
get people to do it?
That's the key. And I'm so glad you asked me that. So for years, I'm the guy teaching you sales techniques, right? Tell you exactly, you go here, 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 you're going to get the result. It's proven, right?
Yep.
It's math. You want more customers, just like we're talking about right now. Just this, 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 this. You want the 5 pieces of data? You got them. Guess what those data don't do? Call themselves. They don't email themselves, right? It's sitting there and it's lost. So the same way with our nutrition. We know what we're supposed to eat, but yet we're pulling in through the fast food drive-through, right? It's funny. I started off my career in this space with customer experience, but then it was like, David, how do I get my people to do it? And I came up with our leadership training. Okay. So a lot of what I do now is leadership training, because as a leader, you've got to motivate, you've got to inspire, you've got to get results, you have to measure, you have to hold accountable. You've got performance that you have to get built in, right? So you have to come up with a process. And there's 2 main pieces without going through everything, right? There's 2 main pieces. Number 1 is, why does it matter and what's the impact, right? Everything we do has an impact. And for me, getting in shape, I've got young kids. That's big for me, right? I'm thinking I want to be with them. I want to be with their kids, like grandkids. That's a pretty compelling why for me. Whereas if I just said, hey, I want to look pretty good for the summer, I might fall off, right? I might not stick to the diet when I'm skiing, right? I might fall off. So why does it matter? If you can get some leverage to a why, I'm going to be on a stage with 300 people in some board shorts, I better stick to this thing, right? So what is it as a business owner that you can get people to rally around, like why it matters, right? And get everybody on the same page. That affects who you hire. That affects your culture. That affects everything, right? The second piece of it, and you touched on it, is a system. What is the system? If you were to look over there, I've got a lunch box that looks like a suitcase, right? I have my meals. So my lunch is in there, my dinner is in there, my snacks are in there, right? Guess what? I don't have to think about, oh man, I'm kind of hungry now. What's the fast food that's nearby? It's worked out, right? So when you guys are working out what's happening, it's a daily thing that's happening. Now, I'm going to give you a third piece, accountability. If I don't make the calls and nobody really knows and no one's really bringing it up, I might not make them.
Yeah.
But if I know at the end of the day, I'm going to have a conversation with how many calls did I make, I'm more likely to make those calls, right? So there's accountability. So it's built into a system that you can repeat, and then that becomes the culture.
Yeah.
Right? So you've now raised the standard, and now everybody understands, like, you're either on board with it or you're not. Not everybody's going to be on board with it. Yeah. So now you start filtering the people who come into your organization through, hey, here's what we stand for, here's why it matters, and here's the system we have.
I love it.
Are you down with that?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Do you have the experience to do that?
And honestly, most have the desire to do that, but they don't have the framework and they don't have the accountability piece.
That's right. And they haven't built the habit yet.
Yeah.
Right.
That's at 90 to 120 days.
They still, that's right. They're still coming in going, what should I do today? Oh, my desk is a little messy.
Yeah.
I should probably fix that. Right. I should probably organize my email.
Yeah.
You should go find those 5 points of data and
First.
hit them all up.
That's right.
Right. I have a minimum of 20 people I have to hit every day.
Yep.
Right. Now, when you're done with that, okay, now you can look at doing some other things.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Well, listen, you also are working on something new. So I want to touch on that before we say goodbye here. But
that's right.
And this resonates with me a lot, and I'll tell you why it does. So you're working on helping people with presentations.
That's right.
And public speaking. And I used to do a ton of this decades ago. Like I not quite as much as you traveling across the nation, but at every event I could get, I would be on stage. I would talk about, our mortgage product and other things because we had a wholesale company. So brokers would send us business.
Yes.
And I more recently started doing it again. And it's going to be part of my 2025 plan is to get out there, build my community around this 90-day blueprint. And so I was on stage 2 months ago. I'm going to be on stage again next week. And going into next year, I'm going to try and be out there a lot more. So tell us a little bit about what you're putting together, this next phase for you that's going to help people. It's still in business, but help people kind of take that next step.
Absolutely. First of all, congratulations, man. I mean, there is no better way to connect with an audience, build relationships one-on-many, right, instead of just the one-on-one, than going out and speaking. And it's funny how all this connects together. In the beginning, it's the customer service and sales training, right, that I'm doing. And then it's like, how do you get people to do it? It leads to leadership training. Yeah. And really, my products are people asking me, how did you do this thing? And the last probably 2 years, people are like, oh my God, you got to put something together. How do you do speaking? How do you do presentations? And some of my corporate clients started asking the same questions. How do you do this? So I put together on LinkedIn Learning, my courses have 1.5 million people globally.
Incredible.
That are taking. And by the way, when I was in Nicaragua thinking of helping people, this would have been a lifetime achievement for me, right? Beyond my imagination. So for me, it's like, okay, this thing's working, right? And so then some of my clients start to ask. And so, like, for example, tomorrow I'll be at Oakley. They use this system. And it's how do you present your ideas in a presentation in a new way, right? You have the old way, which is put together some slides, sit there, you've got some graphs and some numbers or whatever, which is fine. But how excited are you to go to that meeting?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to that meeting. Nobody wants to listen to that presentation.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to sit through it, right? So I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And so for over the last few years, I start looking at things like engagement. How do you engage people? How do you get them sucked in? Right? How do you tell a story, right? Even if it's a business story, even if it's a graph that I'm looking at, what's the story of that graph?
Yeah.
Right? Making it more engaging and the information sticks better with your audience, right? So how do you put that together? I call it the power presentation. And it's a completely new way of presenting information to whether it's internal team, your customers, or anybody else.
Can you take somebody's existing presentation and turn it into a power presentation?
100%. Okay. And I'm real excited. We just finished this week, and I was just telling you about this. I didn't even remember the URL, but it's called thepowerpresentationmethod.com. Hopefully it's somewhere around here.
We'll put it in the notes, Mike, and you'll forget.
Maybe it'll be in the notes. Thepowerpresentationmethod.com. You can go check it out. And what I want for your viewers is that they have a framework where they just take an existing presentation or one they have to give tomorrow, and they can pop in their information. They can go use it for the rest of their careers. And so this is this pinnacle that I'm at right now where I just want to see people succeed.
Man, I love
That's
it,
all I
brother.
want.
That is great. What a great next step for you. While you're at Oakley, can you grab me some blades?
I get that question often. Let me know what you need, man.
I want those old school blades with the interchangeable lenses.
I got you, man.
Oh, man. This has been a rip. I have really, really enjoyed this. And we could probably talk for several more hours.
Time flies, man. I have no idea how long it's been, but it's been great talking.
Yeah, we don't want to be like, 4 hours of advance. And anyway, so, buddy, we'll do it again. Next time, you will bring your guitar. You'll sing a little bit for us, right?
Is this on camera? Is this being recorded? Yeah, absolutely,
okay.
man.
All right,
I got you.
very good. Hey, Guy, if you, by the way, before we can get there, how can people reach you if they want to, if they're interested in your programs? Where can they buy the books? Give us all of that.
Come to davidbrownlee.com. Drop me a line. If you're on LinkedIn, DM me, Instagram, Facebook, however you like to do it. I'm here to help. I got you.
Got it. davidbrownlee.com. Again, this is Brad Rice. You're on the blueprint. If I've brought you value today, please like, subscribe, follow all my channels, YouTube included, and do the same for this guy. He's just a really, really good guy. Thanks for joining us today.